The silence of space is shattered as a mysterious anomaly appears near Earth. Scientists on Earth are baffled. This sudden disturbance is unlike anything they have ever seen before. It's a rip in space itself, a disturbance in the very fabric of the galaxy. No one knows where it came from or what it means, but everyone fears it. This anomaly acts as a signal, calling something far more terrifying than anyone could imagine. An immense alien fleet emerges from the rift, a fleet unlike any other. These aren't just ordinary invaders. They are the Xyrillians, known across the galaxy as apex predators. Their ships are massive and sleek, armed with technology so advanced that it borders on magic. The Xyrillians have conquered countless planets, leaving destruction in their wake. Entire civilizations have fallen to their superior weaponry and ruthless tactics. They're a race that thrives on power, and they only take what they want, never asking questions, just taking. The Earth's defenses are put on high alert, but it's already too late. The Xyrillians have a plan, one that begins with a recon mission to the planet, sending a human soldier deep into the unknown. Jonas, a seasoned soldier, is part of this mission. He and his team are dispatched to investigate a strange signal originating from the heart of the anomaly. What they find is not a friendly call for help, but something far darker, a trap set by the Xyrillians to lure humanity into a false sense of security. As Jonas and his team travel closer to the rift in their ship, they detect an incoming fleet hidden behind the anomaly. They didn't see it coming. In an instant, the ship is hit. A powerful blast of energy strikes the hull, sending it spiraling out of control. The crew is thrown around like ragdolls, and alarms blare in every corner of the ship. In the chaos, Jonas watches as the control panel sparks, the engines sputter, and the ship begins to plummet toward the planet below. With a desperate prayer, he braces for impact. The world outside is a blur as the ship crashes into an unfamiliar landscape. The once majestic ship is now a twisted, smoking wreck, with only Jonas surviving the crash. He stumbles out of the wreckage, dazed and confused, unsure of where he is or what he's about to face. The sky above is not like Earth's. It's a dark purple hue, filled with swirling clouds that seem to pulse with an unnatural energy. The ground beneath him is rocky, jagged, and alien. He has no idea what planet he's on, but one thing is certain: the Xyrillians are not far behind. It doesn't take long for Jonas to realize the truth. The Xyrillians aren't just invaders. They are hunters, and heat is their prey. As soon as he gathers his bearings, the sound of something moving through the dense, alien jungle echoes in the distance. It's the unmistakable hum of alien weapons. The air is thick with tension as Jonas hides, his heart pounding in his chest. He knows that the Xyrillians are coming for him. They always hunt in packs, and they never stop until they claim their prey. Suddenly, the jungle around him erupts in chaos. The first blast comes from behind him, narrowly missing his position. Jonas scrambles to his feet, adrenaline coursing through his veins. He's on his own now, far from the safety of his ship, and the Xyrillians are closing in. They move swiftly, their advanced technology giving them an edge in the dense terrain. But Jonas isn't without his own skills. He's not just a soldier, he's a survivor, trained to deal with the unimaginable. The chase begins. Jonas runs through the jungle, ducking behind trees and rocks as plasma blasts tear through the air, scorching everything in their path. The Xyrillians' weapons are devastating, but Jonas is fast, faster than they anticipate. He knows the jungle better than they do. Every step he takes is calculated, every movement a survival instinct. The aliens are relentless, but Jonas refuses to let them catch him. At one point, a Xyrillian soldier gets too close. Jonas can hear its heavy breathing, its footsteps crunching through the underbrush. Without hesitation, he activates a cloaking device he scavenged from the wreckage of his ship. The device is crude, a piece of alien tech he barely knows how to use, but it's enough to hide him from the hunters. For a moment, Everything goes still. The Xarillion passes by, unaware that its prey is right in front of it. Jonas holds his breath, the silence almost suffocating. Once the coast is clear, Jonas moves again, using his primitive tactics to his advantage. He sets traps using the environment, using vines and debris to create obstacles that slow the Xarillions down. He's learned to be clever, not just fast. He doesn't have their technology, but he has something just as important: ingenuity. Every time the aliens think they've cornered him, he slips away like a shadow, making them question their every move. The jungle itself seems to come alive as the chase continues. The ground shakes as large alien creatures roam in the distance, but Jonas has no time to worry about them. He's being hunted, and every second counts. The Xarillions, with their superior weapons and tracking systems, seem unstoppable. But Jonas won't give up. He's been trained for moments like this, where survival is the only option. As he moves deeper into the jungle, he realizes that if he's going to survive, he's going to have to outsmart them, not just outrun them. At one point, Jonas finds himself at the edge of a cliff. Below him is a steep drop into a dark chasm. His pursuers are closing in fast, and there's no way out. But Jonas is quick thinking. He knows the only way to escape is to use the environment to his advantage. With no hesitation, he grabs a loose vine hanging from a nearby tree and swings across the chasm, narrowly avoiding a blast that shatters the rock where he was standing just seconds before. He lands safely on the other side, his heart racing, but there's no time to rest. The Xarillions are relentless. Their weapons never stop firing, the sound of each shot echoing in the dense jungle. The trees above him light up with the glow of plasma fire, and the ground beneath him trembles with each passing explosion. The tension in the air is thick, every moment feeling like it could be his last. But Jonas knows one thing for sure: he's not going down without a fight. With each step he takes, the jungle feels more alien, more dangerous. Every corner hides something new, something threatening. The strange creatures, the alien plants, and the endless terrain seem designed to keep him trapped, but Jonas refuses to let them win. This is his fight now, and he's going to survive. The story's beginning sets the tone for the rest of the adventure, a desperate fight for survival against an unbeatable enemy. The Xarillions, with their superior technology and ruthless tactics, may seem unstoppable, but Jonas is proving that human determination and cunning can go toe-to-toe with the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. And this is only the beginning. The Xarillions, known throughout the galaxy as the most fearsome predators, stand in disbelief. They have conquered entire civilizations with their unmatched technology and ruthless tactics, wiping out species without a second thought. But now, after hunting for what feels like an eternity, they find themselves baffled. A single human, one soldier, has managed to evade them for far longer than they ever expected. In their minds, humans are primitive, weak creatures, no match for the might of the Xarillion war machine. Yet here they are, chasing this lone survivor across an alien planet, and he refuses to be caught. It's a puzzle they cannot solve. Their leader, Jakar, a towering figure clad in advanced armor, watches the live feed of their hunt. His face, though covered in a mask of cold indifference, betrays his frustration. The Xarillions pride themselves on their superiority, and this human is mocking that pride by still being alive. Jakar growls in anger and orders his warriors to capture Jonas alive if possible. He believes that Jonas must be hiding some form of advanced technology, something that has allowed him to survive for so long. To Jakar, the only explanation for a human surviving against them must be that they have access to technology beyond what they have seen from the primitive humans before. But he's wrong. Jonas is no mere survivor because of technology. He is a product of sheer willpower, survival instincts, and military training. As the Xarillions close in on Jonas, they believe they have him cornered. The landscape has become even more treacherous. the alien jungle now filled with bizarre creatures that seem to watch the hunt unfold. The tension is thick in the air as Jakar and his warriors prepare to move in for the final capture. They know they are dealing with an unpredictable adversary, but they are confident their numbers and their weapons will win the day. Little do they know that their overconfidence will be their downfall. Jonas, though outnumbered and surrounded, isn't about to let the Xarillians win. He can feel the pressure of their footsteps, the way they move in sync, hunting him with terrifying precision. But instead of panicking, he draws on everything he's learned in his years of combat. He's fought in wars, survived ambushes, and had to adapt to impossible situations before. This is no different. Using his advanced combat training, Jonas moves quickly, evading the Xarillians with remarkable agility. He's not a soldier for nothing. His military instincts kick in, and he blends into the alien environment, using his surroundings to his advantage. He knows the jungle better than the Xarillians ever could. Every time they think they've got him, Jonas outwits them, leading them into traps he has set with the alien tech from his ship. The cloaking device he stole works wonders, allowing him to disappear from view just as the Xarillians are about to strike. He can hear their frustration as they search, their weapons firing wildly into the dense foliage. It's a game of cat and mouse, and Jonas is the mouse, only he's playing with the claws of a lion. Then comes the moment of true brilliance. As the Xarillians approach, thinking they've finally cornered him, Jonas activates a hidden weapon, a pulse rifle he scavenged from one of the Xarillian scouts. The weapon is high-tech, AI-assisted, capable of unleashing devastating energy blasts. But what the Xarillians don't understand is that Jonas isn't just relying on the tech. They are. Jonas uses the weapon with the same cunning he has used to survive the jungle. He doesn't just use brute force. He uses precision, exploiting weaknesses in the Xarillian war machines. A blast here, a targeted shot there, and the massive war machines, designed to crush anything in their path, are suddenly at a disadvantage. The Xarillian warriors, confused and surprised, can't believe what's happening. They've never encountered a species like this before, humans who can use their own tech against them. But the real surprise is yet to come. As Jonas fights off the Xarillians, he's not only thinking about survival, he's thinking about his past. The memory of his mentor, Bonner, floods his mind. Bonner was a veteran soldier, a man who had taught Jonas everything he knew about combat, survival, and honor. But Bonner was also a father figure to Jonas, someone who took him under his wing and pushed him to be better. Jonas remembers the day Bonner died, a day that still haunts him. It was during a brutal battle, one in which the enemy was far superior in numbers and firepower. Bonner had made sure Jonas survived, sacrificing himself so that Jonas could live. Jonas had promised Bonner that he would never let his death be in vain. The memory of his mentor is the driving force behind every move Jonas makes now. It's why he pushes forward, even when the odds seem impossible. Bonner's death isn't just a painful memory. It's the fire that fuels Jonas's fight. He won't let the Xarillians take another life like Bonner's. He won't let his mentor's death be forgotten. In this moment, Jonas taps into an emotional core that makes him more than just a soldier. He's a man with a mission to survive, and to prove that human resilience can overcome even the most advanced alien forces. As he hears the crackling of the enemy's communication channels, he knows they're beginning to question their tactics. They're underestimating him, and that is their greatest mistake. The Xarillians, with all their advanced tech and power, don't understand what it means to fight with heart, with the deep-rooted need to survive, no matter the cost. And Jonas is proving them wrong. The way he moves, the way he fights, is a testament to the strength of humanity's spirit. He's not just an enemy to be defeated. He's a reminder that the human will can't be crushed by technology, no matter how advanced it may be. As the battle rages on, Jonas fights back harder than ever. The Xarillians are relentless, but so is he. He won't stop until they are defeated, until he has avenged the death of Bonner and proven to the galaxy that humans are not to be underestimated. With every blast, every strategic move, Jonas shows the Xarillians that their superior technology can only take them so far. In the end, it's human ingenuity, determination, and willpower that will see them through. The fight is far from over, but with each victory, Jonas grows stronger. And the Xarillians begin to realize that they are facing something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. A human who will not be broken. The battle was not going in the Xarillians' favor. Jakar, the alien leader, had expected to crush the lone human quickly. Instead, Jonas, with his resourcefulness and cunning, had managed to turn the tables again and again. Jakar was beginning to see something he had not anticipated, a strength in Jonas that wasn't physical but mental. For a moment, Jakar found himself standing at the edge of his command post, eyes narrowed in disbelief as he watched his warriors struggle against the human. He had never encountered a species so unpredictable. Despite the technological superiority of his fleet, Jonas continued to outwit them at every turn. The Xarillians, known for their physical prowess and high-tech weaponry, mocked Jonas as a house puppy, a pet kept for amusement by the more powerful species. It was meant to insult him, to belittle him. To them, Jonas's survival and success seemed almost comical, as if a dog had somehow outsmarted its masters. But Jonas, having fought through countless encounters, did not shrink from their mockery. In fact, he found strength in it. The phrase house puppy resonated with him, but not in the way they expected. To Jonas, it was a badge of honor. If the Xarillians thought of him as a pet, then let them. He would use that very perception to his advantage. After all, what is a house puppy if not loyal, clever, and always managing to get the upper hand on those who underestimate him? Jonas realized that his survival wasn't just about brute strength. It was about his ability to adapt and think quickly in the face of overwhelming odds. It was his mind, his intelligence and survival instincts that made him dangerous, not his physical strength. And as the Xarillians mocked him, he embraced their taunts. Adaptability was his greatest weapon, and it was something the Xarillians couldn't understand. They were so used to relying on their superior technology that they didn't see the power in simple human ingenuity. Taking advantage of their underestimation of him, Jonas began to study the Xarillian tech more closely. He was a soldier, yes, but he was also a quick learner, especially when it came to technology. In his time as a soldier, Jonas had been trained in high-level tech, including hacking and communication systems. These skills now proved invaluable. The Xarillians' greatest strength was their advanced AI, and Jonas quickly realized that their network was both a powerful tool and a potential weakness. With the cloaking device still at his disposal, Jonas was able to infiltrate the Xarillians' highly secured communication network. He could hear their thoughts, their plans, and most importantly, he could control their actions. As Jonas worked his way deeper into the system, he sowed distrust among the Xarillians' ranks. Using the alien network, he manipulated their internal communications, feeding false information and creating confusion among the warriors. The more he tampered with their systems, the more fractured their command became. Jakar, once so confident in his leadership, now found himself struggling to maintain control over his own forces. Jonas had turned the Xarillian strength against them, using their reliance on technology as a vulnerability. Meanwhile, Jakar had unleashed his robotic army, a powerful fleet of war machines designed to crush anything in their path. But these machines, with all their advanced weaponry, were no match for Jonas's mind. As the robots moved through the dense alien landscape, searching for Jonas, they were met with failure. Jonas, now with complete control of the Xarillians' network, began to disable the robots one by one. Their once unstoppable march was halted by the very systems that had powered them. A cloaked figure moving swiftly through the shadows, Jonas used his knowledge of the alien systems to find their weak points, hack into their programming, and disable their ability to fight. But it wasn't just the robots that Jonas had to contend with. It was the entire Xarillion base that he needed to disable. With Jakar sending more troops and machines to track him down, Jonas had little time. The mission was simple: get in, plant the charges, and get out. However, the stakes were higher than ever, and the Xarillions were no longer just hunting him. They were desperate to catch him. The sheer number of enemies closing in was staggering, but Jonas had a plan. In a high-speed, action-packed sequence, Jonas made his move. Cloaked and unseen, he infiltrated the Xarillion base, moving like a shadow through the alien halls. The advanced technology of the base worked against itself as Jonas hacked into security systems, bypassing their defenses with ease. The explosive charges were set on the war machines, silent, calculated, and quick. Each step was made with precision, every movement part of a larger strategy. As he placed the final charge, Jonas didn't just think about the mission. He thought about Bonner, his mentor, and the promise he made to him. Jonas had survived, but it was not just about escaping. It was about sending a message. The escape was just as tense. With the Xarillions scrambling to track him down, Jonas used his cloaking device to slip out of the base, unseen. The explosions rang out behind him as the charges detonated, disabling the war machines and sending the Xarillions into chaos. Zakar's forces, once so confident in their ability to crush a mere human, were now scrambling to regain control. But it was too late. Jonas had outsmarted them, using their own technology to turn the tables. Jonas had proven that it wasn't the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. The house puppy had become the hunter, and the Xarillions were now the prey. In the face of overwhelming odds, Jonas had shown the true strength of humanity: intelligence, adaptability, and resilience. And as the dust settled on the Xarillion base, Jonas stood victorious, alone but unbroken. The Xarillions' arrogance had been their downfall, and the human soldier had outsmarted them all. Jonas had become more than just a survivor. He had become a symbol that even the most advanced predators could be outwitted by the underdog. And as Jonas made his way to his next destination, he knew one thing for sure: the fight was far from over, but now he had the upper hand. The fight against the Xarillions had only just begun. Jonas, once a lone survivor on an alien planet, had now become a symbol of hope. His continued survival and clever tactics had caught the attention of others, alien races enslaved by the Xarillions. They had watched as Jonas, against all odds, outsmarted his captors and defied the powerful Xarillion forces. These races, each oppressed in their own way, now saw something in Jonas that they had never seen before: strength, determination, and a refusal to accept their fate. Jonas's first alliance was with the Bovklans, a race of massive hulking beasts with an innate strength that rivaled the Xarillions' own power. The Bovklans had been subjugated by the Xarillions for generations, forced into labor and constant servitude. But Jonas's defiance sparked something within them. His cunning and relentless fight against the Xarillions inspired them to believe that maybe, just maybe, they could rise up too. Jonas had no illusions about the difficulty of uniting these alien races, but he knew that the key to success lay in the unity of their oppressed people. The Bovklans were a powerful ally, but they were not enough on their own. Next, Jonas turned his attention to the Othrians, a technologically advanced species that had been suppressed by the Xarillions. The Othrians were once proud, their cities filled with towering spires and advanced machinery, but under the Xarillions' rule, their cities had crumbled. The Othrians had become a shadow of their former selves, their technology held in check, their people oppressed. Jonas saw potential in them, a resilience that mirrored his own. It was with the Othrians that Jonas found a true ally in Alia, the leader of their people. Alia had lost everything to the Xarillions: her family, her friends, and her home. She had spent years in hiding, watching her people suffer while the Xarillions systematically crushed their resistance. When she met Jonas, she saw a kindred spirit. Both had lost loved ones, both had been forced to fight for survival, and both refused to let the Xarillians win. Together, they formed a bond that would become the heart of their resistance. Alia was a fierce leader, determined to reclaim her people's freedom. Her strength was a constant source of inspiration for Jonas, and their shared goal gave them a common purpose. As they spent more time together, their relationship grew stronger. Jonas saw in Alia the same fire that had driven him to survive, and Alia saw in Jonas a hope that she had long since lost. They began to rally other oppressed alien factions, preaching the message of resistance and freedom. But the journey was not without its emotional cost. Jonas had already lost so much: his mentor Bonner, his comrades, and his old life. Now, as the resistance grew, Jonas began to understand the weight of leadership. He wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. He was fighting for the future of these people, for their freedom. The death of an Authrian soldier during a failed assault was a painful reminder of what was at stake. The young soldier, brave and full of potential, had fallen in battle. His death hit Jonas hard, reminding him of Bonner's death and rekindling the deep pain he had buried for so long. Jonas couldn't help but blame himself. He had promised Bonner that he would make a difference, that he would continue the fight, but every loss made him question whether it was all worth it. The weight of those sacrifices pressed heavily on his shoulders. But Alia, ever the strong leader, reminded him that their fight was not just about one person. It was about the freedom of all those who had been oppressed. Jonas, through his grief, realized that this was the reason he had to keep going. He owed it to the fallen soldiers, to the people who had suffered, to honor their memory by continuing the fight. The resistance grew stronger with every passing day. Jonas and Alia's bond, forged in the fires of war, became the foundation of their movement. Together, they led daring raids against the Xarillians' forces, weakening their grip on the galaxy. These attacks were not easy. Each one came with risk and sacrifice. But the payoff was worth it. Every successful strike made the Xarillians more desperate, more vulnerable. It was a battle of attrition, but the resistance had the advantage of knowing their enemies' weaknesses. Jonas's leadership began to shine through as he took charge of one of the most dangerous missions yet, a raid on a Xarillian outpost that housed one of their most powerful weapon systems. This mission was critical. If they could destroy the weapon, it would give the resistance a significant advantage in the war to come. The plan was simple: infiltrate the outpost, disable its defenses, and plant explosive charges on the weapon. But in reality, the mission was anything but simple. Jonas, Alia, and their allies launched the raid with precision. The ground shook as they approached the outpost, and the sky above was filled with the distant rumble of orbital bombardment. The Xarillians had begun to fight back in full force, but Jonas and his team were ready. As they closed in on their target, they encountered fierce resistance from the Xarillians' ground troops. The battle was intense, with explosions lighting up the night sky and plasma bolts tearing through the air. Jonas led his team through the chaos, using his knowledge of the enemy's tactics and his own cunning to outmaneuver them. The battle was brutal, with close-quarters combat in the narrow halls of the outpost. The Xarillians, though technologically superior, were no match for Jonas's guerrilla tactics and his ability to think on his feet. Each move was calculated, each strike precise. The resistance fighters worked together seamlessly, covering each other's backs as they made their way deeper into the outpost. As they planted the charges on the weapon, Jonas couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. This was the moment they had been working for, the moment they had been waiting for. When the charges went off, the explosion was deafening. The Xarillians' main weapon system was destroyed, and the outpost was engulfed in flames. The resistance had dealt a significant blow to their enemies. As they retreated, Jonas felt a sense of triumph. This victory was just the beginning. With each successful strike, they were chipping away at the Xarillians' power. The resistance was growing stronger, and Jonas was at the heart of it all. Jonas had become more than just a survivor. He was a leader, a symbol of hope for all those oppressed by the Xarillians. And with Aelia by his side, they would continue to fight until the last Xarillian was driven from their world. The battle was far from over, but the resistance had proven that even the most powerful enemies could be defeated when united by a common cause. The final battle had arrived. Jonas's journey, one that had been filled with hardship, loss, and impossible odds, was about to come to a head. The Xarillians had been a constant force of oppression across the galaxy, their grip tightening on countless worlds. But Jonas, the human who had defied them at every turn, had gathered allies from across the stars, beasts, oppressed races, and technological marvels, all united under one banner: resistance. Now, the time had come for the greatest assault of all, a full-scale attack on the Xarillian capital, the heart of their empire. Jonas had fought through battles and strategized countless skirmishes, but this was different. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was the final push to end the Xarillian tyranny. The stakes couldn't have been higher. Victory meant the liberation of countless enslaved races, but failure meant the end of everything Jonas and his allies had worked for. Jonas had spent weeks preparing for this moment. His knowledge of the Xarillian technology, gleaned from hacking their systems, stealing their weapons, and studying their machinery, was the key to infiltrating the heart of their empire. With his allies by his side, he had assembled a detailed plan. The forces of the Bovclans, the Othrians, and other races had come together for one final push, and their combined might was ready to take on the might of the Xarillians. But this was Jonas's fight. His confrontation with Jakar, the Xarillian leader, was personal. The day of the assault arrived. The sky above the capital was filled with the roar of engines as aerial dogfights broke out in the atmosphere. The Xarillian ships, sleek and deadly, streaked across the sky, exchanging fire with Jonas's forces. The battle was fierce. Explosions lit up the darkened sky as ships were torn apart, their fiery remains falling toward the ground. On the ground, Jonas's forces fought their way through the outer defenses of the Xarillian capital, overwhelming the alien soldiers with sheer numbers and tactical brilliance. It was a chaotic, thunderous battle, filled with flashing lasers and the heavy thud of explosions. Jonas led his team through the chaos, relying on his strategic mind to stay one step ahead of the Xarillians. They moved quickly, infiltrating enemy lines with ease. The destruction of the capital's outer defenses had been expected, but the true battle would take place in the heart of the city. At the seat of the Xarillian leadership, Jonas's mission was clear: infiltrate the command center, face Jakar, and end the Xarillian reign once and for all. Inside the heart of the city, the atmosphere was tense. The futuristic architecture of the Xarillian capital towered around them, a testament to their technological superiority. High-tech weaponry lined the walls, while robotic guards patrolled every hallway. But Jonas had seen it all before. He had learned the intricacies of the Xarillian tech, and he was ready to exploit every weakness. As Jonas and his team neared the central command hub, they encountered fierce resistance. Xarillian soldiers, armed with advanced weaponry, stood in their way. But Jonas was undeterred. He used his knowledge of the aliens' tactics to counter every move they made, outthinking them at every turn. His movements were fluid and precise, a product of the military training he had received back on Earth. It was human ingenuity against alien technology, and Jonas was determined to prove that his species had something no alien race could understand: resourcefulness. The closer Jonas got to Jakar's command center, the more the battle intensified. The Xarillians, realizing they were under attack, began to shift their focus to protecting their leader. It was now or never. Jonas's heart raced as he reached the heart of the Xarillian Empire, his final confrontation with Jakar only moments away. Jakar, waiting for Jonas at the heart of the command center, was everything Jonas had expected and more. A towering figure, the Xarillian leader was draped in armor that glowed with an eerie, otherworldly light. His eyes glowed with an unsettling intensity, his presence commanding the room. "So, the human finally arrives," Jakar said, his voice cold and menacing. "You think you can defeat me? You're nothing but a pest to us." Jonas stood firm, his gaze never wavering. He knew this was the moment that would define everything. The survival of his people, the freedom of the oppressed alien races, and the future of the galaxy all rested on his shoulders. He had come so far, and there was no turning back now. Zakar activated his weapon, a massive, energy-charged spear. The hum of the weapon filled the air as it crackled with power. The two enemies circled each other, the tension between them palpable. Jonas's mind raced as he assessed the situation. The Xarillian leader was strong, his weapon capable of tearing through steel, but Jonas had something Jakar didn't, the element of surprise. The battle was a blur of movement, the sound of clashing weapons, and the flash of energy blasts filling the room. Zakar's strength and weaponry were formidable, but Jonas's agility and quick thinking gave him the upper hand. He dodged Zakar's attacks, using his smaller size and human speed to his advantage. But it wasn't just about physical combat. Jonas knew that to defeat Zakar, he had to outwit him. As the battle raged on, Jonas remembered the teachings of his late mentor, Bonner. "It's not about strength, Jonas," Bonner had said, his voice a calm reminder in Jonas's mind. "It's about what you're willing to risk for the greater good." Those words fueled Jonas's every move, reminding him that this battle wasn't just about survival, it was about something far greater. With a burst of adrenaline, Jonas launched himself at Zakar, using the alien's overconfidence against him. Zakar swung his spear with deadly precision, but Jonas was quicker. He dodged and countered, exploiting a gap in the Xarillian leader's defense. With a final, precise strike, Jonas disabled Zakar's weapon, sending it crashing to the ground. Breathing heavily, Jonas stood over the defeated Xarillian leader. His heart raced, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. This was it. With Zakar's defeat, the last remaining symbol of Xarillian power had fallen. The war was over. The galaxy had been freed. Jonas, though exhausted and battered, felt a sense of fulfillment. He had kept his promise to Bonner. The struggle, the sacrifices, the pain, it had all been worth it. He had fought for the greater good, and in doing so, he had secured a place in history. The people of the galaxy would remember his name, not as a simple survivor, but as a hero who had led the charge for freedom. As Zakar lay defeated, Jonas looked around at the allies who had fought by his side, the races he had united in the fight for freedom. The victory was theirs. The galaxy was free, and Jonas's journey had come full circle. The final battle had been fought and won, and the once mighty Xarillians were in ruins. Their empire, which had stretched across countless systems, now lay in pieces. The sound of victory echoed through the galaxy as Jonas stood triumphant among his allies. The people of Earth, who had once been mocked as insignificant and weak, had proven themselves not just survivors, but powerful warriors. The shift in the galaxy's perception of humanity was seismic. Where once humans were dismissed as primitive and fragile, they were now feared and respected as formidable forces in their own right. The victory had not come without a price, but it had brought a new era to the universe, one where humans were no longer just pawns in a galactic chess game. They were players. Jonas, battered yet unbroken, stood at the forefront of this change. Around him were the allies he had saved, the races he had united, and the countless beings who now saw him as their symbol of hope. The Bove clans, the Othrians, the Zarnax, and many more had joined forces under Jonas's banner. Together, they have fought against the oppression of the Xarillians and brought an end to their reign of terror. These races, who had once lived under the harsh boot of the Xarillian Empire, now looked to Jonas as a beacon of freedom, a leader who had fought not just for himself, but for the greater good. The galaxy, once divided by fear and hatred, was now united in its newfound respect for humanity. Aliens who had once hesitated to engage with humans now sought alliances with them. The human race had proven its worth, showing the galaxy that their strength lay not in superior technology or massive armies, but in something far more powerful: the ability to adapt, to survive, and to rise above adversity. Where other species had faltered under the pressure of galactic conflict, humans had thrived, proving themselves to be resourceful, strategic, and unstoppable. For Jonas, the journey had been a long and difficult one. He had started as a soldier, a simple man caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. But through his experiences, through the battles he had fought, and the alliances he had forged, he had become something more: a symbol of resistance, a symbol of hope. His heart ached for the friends he had lost along the way. Bonner, his mentor, whose teachings had guided him through the darkest times, was gone. The sacrifices of so many weighed heavily on him, but he knew that their deaths were not in vain. The galaxy was free because of their efforts. As Jonas returned to Earth, the place he had once known as home, he couldn't help but feel a deep sense of change within himself. Earth had always been his grounding force, the place that had shaped him into the man he had become. But now, Earth was different. The world he had returned to was no longer the one that had sent him into the unknown. Humanity was no longer an isolated species, looking up at the stars in wonder, uncertain of their place in the vast universe. No, Earth was now a force to be reckoned with, a planet whose warriors were now respected across the stars. Jonas knew that his journey wasn't over. He had accomplished what he set out to do. He had brought down the Xyrillians and freed countless worlds. But the galaxy was vast, and there were many challenges ahead. The universe had just begun to realize what humanity was capable of. But Jonas, along with his team and the new alliances they had forged, was ready for whatever came next. The story ended with a quiet moment of reflection, a glimpse of peace that had once seemed so distant. Jonas and his team stood together on the surface of Earth, looking up at the stars. They had accomplished the impossible, and yet, as they gazed into the infinite expanse of space, they knew that there was always more to fight for, always more to discover. The universe was full of unknowns, and humanity was no longer content to be a passive observer. They were ready to take their place among the stars, ready to face whatever new challenges the galaxy had in store. The camera pulled back, showing the group standing together against the backdrop of a peaceful Earth, the sky above filled with the twinkling light of distant stars. It was a new dawn for humanity, a dawn of power, respect, and infinite possibilities. And as the screen faded to black, one lingering question remained: what happens when humans, once underestimated and forgotten, rise to lead the galaxy? The answer, though uncertain, was clear. Whatever it was, humanity would face it together, as equals, as warriors, and as leaders of a new era.